Welcome to podcast number 241. Do you have the visuals you need to properly strategize? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics that we actually didn't get to cover too much in the war series that we did. So the topic is your war maps. And I want to paint a little bit of a visual as we go through this topic because it's so impactful. I've got some images from the movie Patton, when General Bradley has this little trailer with the war maps, when General Patton and all of his offices have the war maps up on the wall, strategizing. I've got an image in my mind when Napoleon is poring over these maps on the ground ahead of any of his campaigns, heading in the right direction. So we do that same thing in construction. So what does that look like? We're going to talk about that today. So I hope everyone's doing well and ready for a great week. And enjoying these podcasts this week. We're doing really well. We're at 43,000 downloads, and I'm just super happy that we're getting the message out there. Thank you to everybody who's sharing these podcasts, who's recommending them, who's giving me feedback. Thank you to everybody who's spreading the book, Elevating Construction Superintendents, really having a great time with all of this. And the more and more we do this, the more content we have coming out. So I'll skip ahead just a little bit. One of the things I'm really excited about is I really feel strongly that right now I need to be writing the Elevating Construction Senior Superintendents. I think this new book's going to be quite a bit larger because it will have sections in there about the integrated control system, about team balance and health, personal organization, and a lot of other key things, systems that senior superintendents use to run their projects. I'm starting to work on that outline right now, and I'm just really excited about it. I think I'm through at most or all, or if not all, the bugs on Elevating Construction Superintendents. Katie's doing one last run through of the actual printed book for the Elevating Construction Takt planning, and really just happy about everything getting out there. First and foremost, speed to market to where people have the info, and then secondly, getting all of the little bits of feedback picked up in there. So I'm very happy about that. I got a little bit of feedback, which is really neat. So this actually came from a scheduler, really great guy. He said CPM without Takt first, or Takt planning first, is like putting top track down without layout. CPM without Takt planning first is like putting top track down without layout. So that's a really good point. We can't build a network unless we have the layout, the guidance of how we want to create flow. The other thing he said was, I made a comment about recovering schedulers. I thought it was funny. He didn't think it was too funny, but he said there are three different types of schedulers. The talker, the data monkey, and the folks who suggest different details that facilitate construction, work the trades, and do a good job. Those, the latter, are the people I want to make as we make progress. So when I say recovering scheduler, the person that's all talk, or the data monkey, those are the ones that should be recovering schedulers. The ones that facilitate different scheduling methods and create flow, those are the good ones. So if you're a recovering scheduler, meaning you only use CPM as a data monkey, or you talk a good game, but you don't actually get flow in your schedulers, you are the ones that need to be in support groups heading in a better direction. So I thought that was really a good bit of feedback there, because we need, schedule, cost, productivity, safety, quality, all that costs are all these things are equal. But the first thing that happens, it all starts with the schedule. And so we can't avoid hurting people if we don't, or if we have a bad schedule. We can avoid hurting people if we have a good schedule with flow. So let me do a couple of things here ahead of the podcast. I do project recovery, remarkable training in construction, and business consulting in construction. And so those three things at Elevate Construction are our focuses. And I just want to be clear about that in case anybody has any need. What we're doing here is forming connections for need and answering customer needs. And so if anybody knows of anybody, please refer them. If you have any needs yourself, please reach out, because there's no reason to start a business unless we can satisfy customers and make a difference in the industry. That ties into our mission to elevate construction from coast to coast. So again, I want to remind you, if you have a question, a problem, an issue on your project, you can even anonymously just send it my way. I will shoot you a YouTube video or do a podcast about it and get that to you right away. Also, if you want to attend a boot camp, please let me know. I've got a couple of people that have sent messages. I want a couple more. Also, this Wednesday, we have the Elevating Construction Superintendent's webinar and the Lean Construction blog. I am going to do everything I can to have a landing page for the boot camps, so that you can sign up by that date, by Wednesday, and get a group going so that we can get our first superintendent, our public superintendent boot camp done by the second week of May. That's my target. I've got a location. I've got a date. I need to get that. I will get that all put together on a landing page. So that's really one of the main things that I'm super excited about, is getting that message out. I've got a nice webinar planned. We're doing a dry run for it today, so I hope to see you all Wednesday. So I've got some really good feedback. Jason, you're amazing, and I've been so inspired by your podcast recently. I mean it. I'm not from your industry, but your life podcasts absolutely resonate with me. Your passion is contagious, and I stand with your life and work values. Hope you don't mind me connecting. And this was on LinkedIn, and I thought that was nice. She had a very nice comment there. I thought that was really neat. You know, the interesting thing is, I do organizational health consulting and team building for any kind of organization, not just in construction. And I was always hoping that to get a wider reach, but you also have to focus and niche into something, right? And so I've focused on construction. But a lot of feedback that I get is that a lot of these concepts apply to any industry. So I haven't quite placed that in my mind yet, but hopefully one day I'm able to figure that out. So let's get right into the podcast. This is some really cool stuff. I've had this on the books for about 5 days now and just haven't had time to get it out, meaning the podcast outline was ready. I keep changing the number at the top, but here's really what I want to talk about. You need a command station. You need your war maps. So I'll tell you a couple of quick little stories. In the book, The 33 Strategies of War, which I recommend every superintendent read, and pick out what you like and what you don't like. There's sections in there about spies. There's sections in there about deception. And so people are like, oh, I didn't like those 2 chapters. Okay, well, read the other 30 sections, because they're exactly what superintendents need. Like we can't be so rigid, that we can't, grocery shop what we want here, right? So we need to take the good from everything and get rid of the bad. Even humans have a backside. Not everything is pretty on us, right? So the human body is this magical, wonderful thing. And yet we have this one end of us that gets rid of waste. Everything has bad, right? So what do? We look at and observe and interact with the beautiful side of things. And so if that book, The 33 Strategies of War, is offensive because of 1 or 2 little sections that maybe you don't want to read, like I would just say, just caution you that maybe you're not going to get the beauty of the earth if you're only going to look at something if it's 100% perfect. Rarely are there any things in life, and I'm not lecturing you, I'm just saying that rarely are there any things in life that are 100% perfect. So I would really encourage you to read that book, The 33 Strategies of War, and take out anything good that you can, because there were at least 28 of those strategies that tie in exactly to what a superintendent does. So let's talk about this. Napoleon. In that book, the author talks quite a bit about Napoleon and I've said this many times, how Napoleon would go into a campaign and get thwarted and then change and then change and then change. In fact, his Austrian counterparts or enemies, those generals of old, the ones that led these huge, massive armies, were quite surprised at Napoleon's ability to adapt and react. And my style is to have an unlimited number of options to adapt and react with smaller, more nimble units. I even put that on my player card as a part of my style because that really is my style. And what I like about this is that Napoleon was able to adapt and react not whimsically like in the moment, but because of pre-planning, because of visualization. He would have these huge maps of Europe laying on the ground and be in there for days figuring out different strategies on where he could take his military or his campaigns to defeat the enemies. And so as soon as he hit a problem, okay, plan B. Hit another problem, okay, plan C. Hit another problem, okay, plan D. And just keep going through his options, and would always overwhelm the enemy because he was able to adapt and react with smaller, more nimble units. And, that's an important thing for me because that's where we win. So let me tell you something that's been on my mind for a little bit. By the way, I have this little habit of doing this right now for some reason. I'm going to get rid of that. It'll take me 1 or 2 podcasts, but if you're like getting annoyed at me with that, please bear with me. As I do these, I tend to develop like different annoying habits, and then I recognize it and get rid of it, and then I get onto a new one. So anyway, but let me tell you, there's this concept called the dilemma of command. General Patton wrote about it. Eisenhower wrote about it. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel wrote about it. It's this dilemma of do you stay back with headquarters where there's communication, or do you go out on the front line with your women and men, in battle? Back in the day, it was with your men in battle. And the question, for me, there's benefits to both, but why not do both, right? So here's my little vision. Now, this is going to sound really, really stupid, so bear with me. Please don't let me freak you out here. But my dream, and I've never done this, but my dream was if I was going to continue to lead large projects, if I couldn't have the trailer somewhat near the project site, I was going to get a mobile mini, probably not the real narrow ones, maybe just a little bit bigger, but maybe a smaller one, with my war maps, which means my plan views with my visuals, my roadblock maps, the overall Takt plan, anything that I needed to see what I was doing in that mobile mini with a stand-up desk, right? And a heater and air conditioner, but that would be hooked to a baloney cord with a generator, right? And the only difficulty would be as I'm walking up in the morning, I'd need to have, gas every now and then for the generator, maybe fill it out once or twice a week. But my thought was, okay, I'm gonna have this mobile mini with picking eyes, engineered picking eyes on the corners. You forgive me, I don't know if that naturally comes with that, but I just know that some boxes, containers, and things like that will come with picking eyes that may not be engineered for the full weight. So I would at least check to make sure that unit was at capacity, that those picking eyes were actually for rigging and for the weight of the unit. But I would have that thing craned around the job site as needed. So like, let's say I was on an 8-story building or whatever. I would hoist that little mobile mini to the side of the project, and then to the podium deck when it was ready, maybe in the basement before starting going vertical. Then when the 3rd floor deck was available, crane that up there so that I'm always with the flow of work and can not only do my office work with the internet, and see my war maps, right? But be out there to, look at the energy of the team, have a safety presence in the field. Like literally, the craning around my little mobile command station has always been a little dream of mine. In fact, I would do that. I have done it with mobile minis for, the field teams. I don't love to do this all the time because you really don't want to disconnect between field and office. But for certain situations, it could be a neat idea. So, but I never did it because I always treasured proximity with the office team more, and was able to get the office trailers right there next to the job, not on the site, but across the street or really closely, and it worked out. And it just took a little bit of a walk to get to the project site, but that's what was in my mind. I hope that kind of paints a picture. Your war maps can be the visual things that you see in the conference room. It can be your planning area, your weekly work planning, your foreman planning area out in the field. Let me paint just a couple of pictures for you. So here are some of the things that I've seen. Remarkable conference rooms where there are site logistics maps, plan views for every floor under plexiglass, the weekly planning boards with the time scales, where you can do your 6-week make ready look ahead planning or your weekly work planning, plan tables that are horizontal that have the whiteboard on it, the masonite with the whiteboard covering on it, where you can just stand around and talk to your trades and actually draw on that table. I've seen a plan desk where you have the same whiteboard on it with a screen up in front to where people can circle around it. I've seen really good actual field foreman huddle areas where they have deliveries, they have inspections, and they have this magnetic board where they have their visuals, and every day the foreman put little colored magnets on there showing where they're going to be, and they go through their meetings. I mean, any area where you have a nice, wonderful visual area that allows you to see what you need to see and lead the job is fantastic. So I want you to get inspired about this. I want you to think about this. Wow, like this, I love this. I need to go get my area. What is an area? And this is the measurement of success. Does it bring you joy? Does it allow you to plan visually with all of the other people on site? Does it allow you to vomit everything out of your head and get it onto those visual boards for action so that's not rattling around in there? So here are also some other examples of war maps. They're not exactly maps, all of them, but like these are the things that I'm asking project superintendents, senior superintendents, project managers, senior PEs to get addicted to versus some of the other things that we get addicted to. So in construction, most new supers and PEs and field engineers get addicted to responding to the needs of the trades. Love it. Don't babysit though. Only do what you can do and will do. If the trade should be writing their own RFI, doing their own layout, doing their own plan research, figuring out their own problems, coordinating with other foremen themselves, don't babysit them. You need to be doing only what you can do and should do, right? Most people get addicted to, I'm not going to plan ahead. I'm just going to respond in the moment. So they get used to fighting fires. There are some personality types actually that are addicted intrinsically to fighting fires, to logistics, and not to planning. I'm the type of personality that's addicted to planning. It's inherent in my personality. It wasn't even something that was hard for me to do, right? If you're not like that, I'm asking you to reprogram your mind as best you can through neuroassociative conditioning and reprogram yourself to become addicted to planning versus reacting. I want to say that again. Every one of you have little pharmacies inside of your brain that produce chemicals and hormones that are sometimes restricted under the licensed care of a pharmacist in a pharmacy. When you do things that your brain says this was good, where you have a feedback loop that says this was good, your brain releases chemicals that are otherwise only available in a licensed pharmacy. I want those chemicals only released when you plan, prepare, and prevent versus react. I don't want anybody incentivized for reacting all the time. React when you need to, absolutely. But let's get to the planning stages, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So some examples of war maps. Your team health, so your team health assessment. Your roadblock removal system. That is a war map that you should be looking at every day. Your safety metrics and your safety dashboard. Like let's say you're using like eMod safety or something like that. Your safety dashboard. Get addicted to that. Reviewing your exposures financially, if you have an exposure log or otherwise, on a constant basis. That is a map, a log that the best generals in construction will always look at. Job cost reports, financials, those things are in that same bucket. Reviewing critical submittals, the status of procurement tracking, all of those things are super critical. Checking on the status of RFIs, that's incoming information into the war front. That's super critical. The buyout, how is buyout progressing? Checking in with the owner verbally is like always checking in with home base, right? Always checking in back to the homeland, the mainland, back to the states, back to corporate stateside headquarters. So always have to be checking in. Reviewing quality observations and the status of your quality program with your feature of work boards and your checklists. Walking the project to visually check on cleanliness, organization, and safety. These are key things that any war general would do. Change order management, pay apps, looking at cash flow, looking at the status of the building information model, making sure that we're heading in a good direction for coordination, using those models, reviewing the training of your team, status reports for that, and any other, schedule health schedules, KPI reports for your schedule, any visual maps, anything that you can look at visually that helps you predict the future. I mean, any of these things are really your war maps in construction. And so the principle is, the word strategy comes from Stratagos, it means the leader of the army. The leader of the army, the leaders of the project need the visual maps to go see what they need to see. Leaders are only as effective as what she or he can see. So, at a minimum, in your war area, your war room, your war maps, your visuals, what's on your walls, you should see the schedule quickly, your Takt plan, your financial status, the quality process, the status of quality, safety metrics, inspections, deliveries. You should see the roadblock removal system on your project. If you can get some key visuals up in your area to visually see, you can visually and intellectually and directionally win, meaning you can communicate to people their direction and win in a remarkable way. I never allow the placing of visuals on the construction trailer walls to happen by accidents or happenstance. Those will be the first things that I intentionally design with the team. Where are we going to put our schedule? Where are we going to put our inspection board? Where are we going to put our family wall? Where's our right to know area? Where are our visual signs? Where's our dashboard projector with the plan table? Where are our sliding scheduling boards that we're going to use? Where are our plan views with plexiglass over them where we're going to track roadblocks? All of these things will be visually planned. To tell a little secret, I won't tell you what the categories are, but when I worked at Hensel Phelps, they had what's called the Book of 14. They used to call it Bosted's Book of 14, and it had 14 key things that needed to be audited and checked on a project for it to be successful. And then they would do a 1/3 and 2/3 point reviews on project, and it worked out great. And so we have to be checking the right things. I'll tell you another funny story. I used to have this dream of having, when I used to believe in offices, and I don't anymore, I believe in open offices. I used to dream of just having my desk in the middle and then having all the walls covered with whiteboards so that I could have all those visuals around me. And now what I do, I've advanced that to where we're in an open office environment, and those same visuals that I would have had in my siloed office are now in the collective office, because I'm not the only one that needs to see. Everyone needs to see. So I always have in my trailer the permit. Let me just go through it. The permit area, the kitchen, storage, PPE area next to my right to know area, an area where I showcase all of the player cards for the employees, a family picture wall, fun picture wall there on the project, an inspection board, deliveries board, making sure that I'm tracking key metrics for quality. I will have a war area with a horizontal white board table where we can draw. I'll have things on there like Legos and Play-Doh and visual maps and coloring tools and paper and large maps and things where we can visualize anything we need to visualize. My rolling boards that have the 6-week planning, 9-week planning boards that can slide forward and back, that behind them have the whiteboards. I'll have the construction bathrooms, the construction lunch area, the trade areas, showing any, I'll have an area on the walls where I have the flow diagrams, the single line diagrams, the one line diagrams that are highlighted by date. Those will be in the MEP trade areas. And then I'll obviously have any key cultural signs hanging from the board. And then in the conference room, show the Takt plan, the logistics, roadblock removal system, my plan views with the plexiglass covering them, any other visuals, key performance indicators inside that conference room, anything that I need for my weekly work planning, working with the trade partners. Like, I will always have these things. And it's fantastic. You have to intentionally plan your war areas, your war maps. In fact, I always have a little area called the war area where we can huddle. The key is, can you get addicted? There was a time when I was leading projects where I finally became addicted to, okay, I know now that everyone in the field knows exactly what the plan is. Meaning the day before, I'm working with the foreman. In the afternoon foreman huddle, I'm creating some visuals. Oh, this crew needs this. That feature of workboard needs to go out there. Oh, I need to tell the project engineers about this delivery that's coming up, this problem. I'm strategizing. And next morning, I hit the morning worker huddle. The crew preparation huddles happen. I know everybody has their stuff. And at like 7 o'clock, I do a quick walk for safety because that's the first thing on my mind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone knows what the plan is. This is fantastic. But most superintendents don't get their hit of dopamine right then. They get their hit of dopamine once they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go around and just talk to everybody and play savior with everybody and point fingers and be needed all day. That's when they get their hit of dopamine. You can't get addicted to that. You have to get addicted to, oh my gosh, I've communicated visually to everyone and to the workers to where everyone can build this job today without me. That is when you should get your hit of dopamine. You need to have a strategy. You need to get addicted. Like when you get into your schedule and your task plan and you start strategizing, you should get addicted. When you start removing roadblocks from your event maps, you should get addicted. When you create these week by week visuals for the exterior crews on where we're headed, that should give you a feeling. You should get a hit of dopamine, get addicted right there. When you get into, if you're a PM, get into your financials and you're strategizing financially and you're looking at your labor gains and your gains on bonds and your financials and your contingency and all of these things and your internal contingency, and you're looking at your remaining budget and all of your financial status reports. You should get a hit of dopamine. Those are your war maps. You should really be looking at that as a leader, not you're playing savior and fighting fires. So we have to have strategies for this. And we need to know where we're headed and provide that vision. As a leader, your maps are saying this is what needs to be done, and you're letting everyone else figure out how. So that's mainly the point that I have for today's podcast. And my point is, the current condition, most projects are not in the mode of strategizing. I get there's no good conference room. The conference rooms aren't big enough. They don't have their war maps. They're not addicted from a dopamine standpoint to and they're not releasing endorphins at the right moments. They're releasing endorphins in the chaos, which can be fun. It's like whitewater rafting, but you should be incentivized to looking at and strategizing. Stratagos, the leader of the army, strategizing on these war maps, your schedule, your finances, your quality tracking boards, your visual maps, so that you can anticipate problems and see the future. Remember this. Great PMs read the owner's mind. Great supers see the future. And that's what we should be doing. So here's a challenge. Find the key maps, visuals, standards, and logs that you need to strategize on your project and see the future. Make checklists, make maps, get your systems, get your habits, start to incentivize yourself to dive in and look at your task plan. Even if you have to use CPM, get addicted to it. Get addicted to sending snippets out from your schedule. Get addicted to sending snippets out when you're reading your drawings for 30 minutes every day. Get addicted to sending pictures out when you're doing your field walks. Put these lists in areas where they can be acted upon on visuals where other people can see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group. Do those audits and follow up. Some of the best generals and project supers have key things on their OneNote list or wherever it is of things they'll look at every day from a leader's perspective. They will do an audit. They'll write things out. They'll send these out to other people for action, and they will follow up. I hope this has been helpful for you. Other than killing people and the moral aspects of it, there's not a lot differently from a functional standpoint between construction and war on how we do things. The intent and what we're doing is different, but we should learn from the best generals from history. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.